Hey, everybody. Thanks for joining us back for another edition of Craft Talk with Scarps, where we talk with local business owners that help keep Delco moving. Today, we are joined with a Swarthmore resident, Joseph Monroe. It's a good friend of mine. We are in a networking group on Wednesdays, meeting here at the Broad Table Tavern. Sorry about that. Great Kennett Square mushroom soup. Joe Monroe, Rose James Company.
Thanks for inviting me.
Yeah, brother. Appreciate you. Rose James. What is it? What do you guys do?
We are a full-service staffing firm, and we support a lot of home service businesses like yourself and other home remodeling, plumbing, HVAC companies. And we also do some offboarding support for some of the larger companies, helping people that are transitioning out of businesses write their resumes, go through COBRA and unemployment, and hopefully help them find another opportunity.
Ideal client would be how big of a company, right? You work. I mean, you're working with us right now, but and we're not some huge company. But what is ultimately your ideal client?
I think revenue is kind of irrelevant. I think it's more about we like to work with growth businesses like yourself, and we find that people that or clients that want to grow, want to hire people that make a business process better or their company better are typically clients we want to work with. So we have clients that are $1 billion clients, $500 million clients, and $1 million clients. To me, it's about working with the right owner as opposed to the type of business.
How'd you get started in this?
Uh, kind of fell into it. I've been in staffing for, I don't know, 18 years or so, right out of school, and worked as a headhunter, then fell into a corporate recruitment team and spent most of my career in corporate recruitment, and then had an opportunity to go out and start on my own and haven't really looked back.
um, so previous of joining Rose or of starting your own company, Rose James, you were at Power Windows.
Yep, Power Home Remodeling.
Power Home.
I started at Power Windows.
See.
When I started there a long time ago, Power Windows and Siding, and over the last decade plus, Power Home Remodeling is where I spent 13 years. Started as an entry-level recruiter at 23 years old, and kind of was lucky enough or skilled enough or a little bit of both to move into a manager and then a director and then VP before I left there.
There's usually a moment that takes a person from being an employee to wanting to be an owner, whether it's a financial moment or something that just whatever. Um, what and why are you running your own company at this point?
It's a great question. I was lucky enough to have some really, really great mentors in the corporate space. And we were scaling with that organization. I was the fourth recruiter hired. And so the mentors that I worked for were the owners of the business. And they encouraged us to run our department like a business. So we were always held accountable to really be an owner all the way up to 13 years later. And the problems just got bigger and the budget just got bigger and more complex. Towards the end of my career at Power, there were some changes inside the organization, and I had some opportunities to go and build something new inside the business. And it was kind of one of those moments that was like, hey, I can go build something else inside the business, or I could go build something outside the business. And then, in a lot of deliberation, a lot of conversations, we ended up deciding to step away and build something new. But Power was our first client, and they're still a client of ours 3 years later. So it was kind of tough to get out of the space, but knowing that Power was going to be a client and kind of an anchor for the business was awesome.
Living in Swarthmore, you're heavily involved in our community, or at least in our general area. You've worked all over the country for the most part, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like worked with companies all over the country, so you have a pretty big experience, pretty broad experience of the country. What are you doing here in Delco? What are you doing here in Delco, right?
in Delco, it's probably my favorite place to work. Supported, like you said, companies all over the country, every corner of the country. Working in Delaware County is just different. The type of people that are here, the owners, the tenacity, the grit, and so it's a lot of fun to support local businesses or local business owners, especially like our network meeting, because there's a shared interest in just kind of hard growth, and people willing to like kind of get to that next level on purpose. But yeah, so from a business perspective, working and supporting clients, and I'm also pretty involved in the community, youth sports, and I'm part of the board of directors for the Swarthmore Recreation Association, which is all youth sports in the area. It's just been really fun to leverage my time differently in that, having your own business is obviously a lot of work, as you know. But there's also, that means you can kind of control your schedule. So I can be more involved in, helping the community build, better programs or better fields or whatever it may be, which has been very rewarding.
Being able to work within your community is one of my favorite things. I mean, you walk down the street for our networking meeting most times if it's not raining. But I was sitting at my desk today, and one of my neighbors called because they want to repipe a bunch of water lines. There are some people who shy away from working where they live, and I think most of those people don't have a lot of faith in themselves, because for me it's, yeah, we're gonna knock that out of the park. And I mean, same thing is, we play golf together. I mean, we see each other a good bit, like, and yet you are the type of person that says, I got this. And like, so working in your community that you live, some people like to do and some people don't like to do, right?
Totally.
And so, but you're one of the people that help build the community and want to build it for your children based here. It's one of the reasons that we wanted you on.
Love being on.
So what is something about your industry that is kind of maybe the most misunderstood thing?
I think for the recruiting industry is it's dealing with people. So anytime you're dealing with people, it's kind of like being in a service business. Everybody always wants your help, right? And they're like, hey, can you just come over and do this for me, right? And you want to help, but the reality of it is we support clients, right? So, like you say, hey, go find me this person. And then we go out and find that person. And the inverse of that is, oh, you're a recruiter, you must help people get jobs, right? And we do, for sure. And we would never, turn away a conversation. But it's the idea of somebody coming to me and finding them an opportunity, as opposed to we work for the client and find them the people.
Yeah.
And I think that's the hard misconception when somebody's like, oh, here, got to talk to Joe. Joe will help you get a job.
Yeah.
It's
the missing
true.
piece. You're finding the missing piece for the puzzle as opposed to finding the puzzle for the missing piece.
Totally.
Yeah. Okay.
And that's the misconception, which is hard because you don't want to let people down, right?
Sure.
You always want to be involved and help people. Transitioning's tough, right? So we always just want to have the conversation and kind of help guide however best we can.
So common mistakes that companies make when hiring a agency as yourself. What are a couple common mistakes?
Like if a client hired me?
Yes.
I think dollars. I start with dollars and cents, right? It's like I'm going to get the cheapest recruitment firm.
Yeah.
There's pros and cons to that, and you have to work inside of your budget, right? I get that. But at the end of the day, our team is all veteran based. I like to say that we're like the Navy SEALs of the recruitment industry. Small team, high experience, experience in all sectors of the home service base. And with that becomes white glove service, right? From communication to hand holding. And, if we do the job right, you may only interview 3, 4, 5 people, and you make one really good hire, and your life is way easier, right? So it's about quality, not necessarily quantity, and getting the work done right. So it's not about the dollars and cents; it's about the quality, the service, and the speed,
and what you're getting,
and
right?
what you're getting, and what you're getting.
I think the quality of what you're getting is a very, very broad term.
You're talking about quality of candidate,
quality
and quality of service,
right? That's. we talk about that all the time at my company, because people will call up and say, hey, we want a price for a sewer. Happy to give you a price for just about anything, right? We're in business. We are here to sell plumbing services. But when we give you a price for something, it's not what somebody else is giving. We're giving you apples and oranges, and Chuck in a Truck is giving you apples or oranges. We do things a little differently. We do things a little more extreme, because we believe in the job being better. And so, the screenings that you guys do and stuff like that is a little different than what other companies do.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. And I think so. What separates a recruiting firm from a recruiting firm from a recruiting firm?
Right.
Or whether you just do it internally, right? And I think a lot of owners are like, hey, I could do it for myself cheaper.
Yeah.
100% true. The reality is time, energy, and skill, right? And so what I think separates Rose James from other firms specifically is our ability to understand our clients. We spend a lot of time getting to know people, getting to know their cultures, not just necessarily the X and O's and the blocking and tackling of what the job is or what they need, but who is a culture fit, right? Like what is the organization? And so when we're screening, today's world is very competitive, and a candidate can get a job a lot of different places, right? Especially in your world, right?
Yeah.
As a plumber, if you're a plumber or a lead plumber or foreman, your skill set is your skill set.
Yeah.
So the question is, how much am I going to get paid, and what is the culture I'm working for? And so our job as recruiters is really to be storytellers, and to say, if you have the X's and O's, you can block and tackle. How can we sell your organization in a way that makes that candidate excited about coming to work for Scarpignato Plumbing as opposed to going to work for some other plumbing company? And that's the difference in building a culture and building quality hires, right? Because they're joining the organization for more than just what's on the paycheck, but who they're a part of and what they're about.
People taking a job strictly for $1 will always find another job for $2.
100%.
What that is, right? So unless there's an end goal for that person, if there's move up trajectory for that person, and if there is a culture in which they are supported and they can ask for help. I mean, there's a big difference in, especially today's world, right? Today, the private equity industry, when you talk with general managers in my industry, you see the private equity companies come in, they're strict P&Ls. Where are your numbers at, right? It doesn't matter that, all your guys were busy, but they were doing little jobs and they didn't do any upsells. So there's just culture in companies is the difference. I think that we try to sell to our employees is that, I'm the owner, I'm responsible. There's not just a name behind the company, and that we want people to move up in our company and to build our business. And so when you can find the right culture at a company, it makes it a lot easier probably to find the right employee for a culture.
100%.
So in your industry, any trends that are right now in terms of hiring or anything that's just kind of different than usual?
I think the big buzzword again is AI, right? AI is the recruiting world is being targeted by AI, and that it can do it faster, it can do it better, and truly AI makes things easier in some cases.
Sure.
But I think there's a difference in human interaction.
Yeah.
And right now, I don't think the experience that separates a recruit, the recruiting dance, right? The hiring process is representative of everything you just talked about: the culture, how the organization is going to be. You're not only evaluating the candidate, but you're also selling the candidate to join this organization. And what I see is everybody's getting all this AI buzz about how it can process resumes faster and pick the right people. What I've learned about being in the industry for 18 years is that people are unpredictable, right? And you can think you have the most perfect matrix, and then something changes, right? Something changes down the road, or something happens inside the organization. So having a people touch, getting in front of somebody and really getting to know the candidate, getting to understand their why, is the AI trend that no one's talking about. They're just talking about dollars and cents and speed, but they're what you're always missing is that people have to make a decision and meet somebody at some point. So that's the trend, and I'm staying aware of it and using it where we can. But at the end of the day, recruiting is about being with people and talking to people and getting involved in people. And we do a video interview with every single candidate. We want to touch them, talk to them, see them,
Right.
as opposed to an impersonal phone interview, or we don't do any like pre-recorded video interviews, which I think a lot of people are moving towards. And I think it's hard for the candidate. It's a weird experience to just
Yeah.
be filmed in a dark space.
All right.
So I tend to be more personal than leverage the technology pieces that are out there.
What do you think's been the most rewarding part of running your own business? And I understand, everybody starts their own business to make more money and have more time. What honestly is the most rewarding part of running your own business? Is it
I think the money part is about you start a business because you think that you could make more money.
right?
The money portion, like
Then reality sets in.
reality
At first,
sets in, right?
Or first, and you're not.
100%. The exciting part is building,
Right,
right?
right.
And it's amazing when you earn business and someone trusts you to do some work, and then you complete that work cycle, and then the customer calls you back and says, "Hey, do it again." Right? It's probably one of the best and most rewarding experiences for me. Personally, I think time, right? Growing up in the corporate space, and there's pros and cons to that world. I worked for one of the largest exterior home remodelers in the country, probably one of the best cultures to work for in the country. They did more for employees than anywhere I could see, right? And I take a lot of that with me, but it also requires a lot of your time, right? It's just trade-offs. You can't deliver a great culture
Right.
if you're not around for your people, right? So at every level, the higher you go in that organization, the more you're invested, the more phone calls you're taking, the more dinners you're having, the more events you're hosting, because that's how you build culture. Coming out and now being back in the private sector, my time, I might work 12 hours a day, but it's in sprints. It might be 3 or 4 hours. Then I have an hour to, go up to a school event for one of my kids, or I can take off a day or two and then work, 50 hours over the course of 4 days. And I think that flexibility, it's not about working less. It's
Right.
about controlling the
When. Yeah.
And that's been amazing. I think when I left Power, I have 2 kids. My oldest is 11. And so when I left, she was 9, maybe 8. And I was having dinner with her like during the week on a Tuesday night. She's like, this is the first dinner you've had with me in my life. Like in a school week.
Regular
in a school week.
5:30, 6
Because I used to
o'clock.
get home at 6:30 or 7 o'clock every
Right.
night. So I never thought about having dinner at 5 o'clock.
Right.
And it was like a trigger point for me that why I would never I would never do anything differently. It's been really nice to be involved in some of those things, coach more sports, have freedom. Like I get to go on a field trip tomorrow, and I get to go to school on Friday. So like, you're building your schedules around different pieces of life, which is really, really cool. Going down to Stone Harbor tomorrow, all day, whale watching. It's gonna be great.
We had the Philadelphia Zoo. What was it, last Tuesday when it was 96 degrees, buddy?
It's better than raining.
No, it wasn't. I would have probably been much happier if it was raining and not 96 degrees. But it's that. It's that. And being able to spend that time with your family or go on that field trip with your kid, it's something that they're going to remember. Because my dad worked third shift, and he couldn't come when I was a real little kid to our T-ball games and stuff like that because he was working, and that's just what that was. Like you couldn't, like you're a little kid and you understand that, but like, because he worked third shift, he came on the field trips, and he was able to come on the field trips, and so have those memories of him on certain field trips, and your kids, and I hope my kids, are able to remember that when they get older, that what we've done is ultimately for them.
Probably not.
So that's awesome. Probably not. What advice would you give somebody who's starting out in your industry? Maybe not starting out their own company, but that wants to get into talent acquisition.
I think one of my favorite lines or quotes is, and I learned this, it's more of a sales ideology, but be interested, not interesting. And recruiting is all about getting to know people, right? And so I think recruiters tend to want to tell stories and control conversations. It's kind of like the 2 ears and one mouth concept, right? You need to listen more than you speak. And that's how you get to know who's a really good candidate and who's not. So you might ask a question, listen to what they're really saying, maybe ask another question, and dive deeper and deeper into the hole, as opposed to trying to tell them what they should think. You just, and that's the part of recruiting. It's like, you interview, then sell the opportunity, and then re-interview. And if you're interviewing more than selling, you typically end up with a better product, with a better candidate at the end, or you make a better decision, I should say. So any recruiter that wants to get into the space, listen more than you speak, ask layered questions, really be invested in whoever you're speaking to, and give a good experience. You might know that a candidate's not a great fit in the first 10 minutes of call.
Sure.
Now the question is, a lot of recruiters say this is a waste of my time, and they give a bad experience, right? And I'm a big experienced person, so
Right.
maybe it's not a good fit for this role, but who knows,
Right.
So I want to get to know them, know what they're looking for, and make sure that when they get off the call, they feel better about themselves or about the space that they're in, and they may take something from the call for the next interview or whatever it may be.
Not burning bridges is one of my keys to success. I really do heavily believe that you never know how somebody will fit into your life 2 weeks later, far less 6 months later, right? Or 10 years later. You don't. And so, we always, even if we can't help a customer out, we had a customer yesterday, they had a timer on their water heater on the electric, and in this area at one point there was off-peak and on-peak meters. So during the day, when everybody was trying to use the most electricity, was peak, and you were charged the most for using that. But at night, when all the businesses are closed for the most part, especially late at night, that's off-peak, and nobody uses electricity comparatively in the middle of the night. So you used to be able to use electricity cheaper at night. We had a customer with a bad timer that was still in use because some other plumber tied it back in. And they had one or two other little things that we see in the electric side. Hey, call the electrician. Just call this guy. They're going to do it a little cheaper. They're going to take that out and rewire this completely the way it should be. We didn't tell them no. We didn't do it. We gave them two people's names and numbers so that, they can make the decision at that point. They can, and, even if we see something that is HVAC related, whatever it is, if we know somebody that can do the job a little better, a little easier, a little faster, that we don't do, it's just easier to make sure you don't burn that bridge and say no. So being a Delco guy, you grew up in Marple, but moved a little southeast. Favorite local restaurant?
I'm a big fan of Rosemary's in Ridley Park. I think the food's fantastic, the environment's great, the owner is amazing, Phil's incredible.
And yet you eat here once a week, just so we're clear.
Dude, I'm a creature of habit. I eat here or at Springhaven. Like that's what you get from me. I'm very boring.
Outside of work, your hobbies, what do you got? As a person, as a human being who needs time away from their computer, their phone, what are you doing?
Golfing with you, or trying to. Golfing, coaching a lot, coaching at least one sport for somebody every season. And I would say, like, I'm a fiddler. There's always something at the house that we're doing, right? Building, edit, changing, creating. That's about it.
So you said a little bit earlier, we'll touch on this real quick, you're involved with SRA. What is it that you do for SRA?
I'm on the board. I'm on the executive board for the board of directors.
Which is Swarthmore.
It's Swarthmore Rec. It's Swarthmore Rec, but
not Swarthmore Rutledge.
Swarthmore Rec, and I think the name doesn't do it justice. I think it started as Swarthmore Recreation, tens of years ago, and it has grown to basically be Wallingford Swarthmore School District. So about 50% of our membership are WSSD. So it could be Wallingford, NPE, West. It doesn't matter. SRS kids, and it's everything from adult programming like men's basketball and men's volleyball to all the way down to every sport you name it. Basketball, soccer, lacrosse, boys, girls.
And you coach lacrosse?
Coach lacrosse, basketball, soccer, you know, just staying in, just helping, really. Just helping and yelling. That's all I got.
Helping and yelling. It's
Helping and yelling.
Youth sports. One topic that you could talk about for an hour. What do you got?
I love do's and don'ts of interviewing. I think it's such a, you know, it's so simple, yet I could spend hours doing it because I think even leaving the organization and doing it on my own and now supporting, you know, I don't know, dozens of clients, right? They all have their different pieces, and owners specifically, they have 10 billion things to do. And so the way they interview, typically don't have a lot of interview training, and there's way more don'ts than do's. And I think most people, due to time constraints, due to personality, they typically push a lot of candidates away as opposed to bringing a lot of candidates in, right? And so for me, it's about interview training. And I would say like the first three things, right, is a clean space.
Is that a service that you offer?
We do some consulting, you know, for
Right.
small businesses.
Right. Would you train, you know, do you have a class where you will train somebody for a business to interview people? I mean, listen, at the end of the day, as somebody who started his business in a pickup truck, right? You can't, if you're a one guy shop, you can't afford that, right? Like you are scraping by when you're first kind of starting out. But is that a service that you offer that you will help people kind of train people on?
It's kind of an ancillary service, not necessarily a class, but
Yeah.
you know, I have, you know, if we have a client and we're doing some hires for them and
Right.
we get to know them, we typically will do some consulting, you know, individual
Gotcha.
services, whether it's teaching somebody how to interview. So helping people write scripts for interviewing.
Right.
How to create the interview room.
Yeah.
How do we greet candidates? All the way to like systems, right? Like how are we writing job descriptions and how are we writing pay plans? So yes, like if there's a business owner that says, hey, I need to hire somebody, typically what ends up happening, we say yes. And then quickly I start asking questions and they're like, oh, there's no system, right? How are we doing it? And then, you know, then it's like, hey, do we want to go forward and hire somebody, or do we want to take a step back and get all of this ready? Right, from the job, the pay, and how we're going to go about it, and what's the human life cycle system, and then we bring somebody into the business. And going back to a misconception for the industry, I'm a huge component of no bad kids, no bad parents, right? And it's like the candidate is the kid and the owner is the parent. I think we make hires, especially small business owners, and I make my own. I teach this, and I still make these mistakes for myself. We're so busy that we're like, this person's going to solve my problem, but we don't bring them into an organization that's ready for them. Like we don't have a model for them. We don't have real expectations for them. And then all of a sudden, 6 months down the road, you're like, this isn't working out. And we say it's a mishire, or we blame the candidate. And if you look back, I would bet you overwhelmingly, there are mishires for sure, right? Somebody just shows up differently at work. But the most part, people are good people, they're trying hard, they're just working inside of a system that wasn't built for what the owner wants. So it's really about the owner taking time, or the hiring manager taking time, really figuring out what is the job, what are the expectations, are they clear, and then hiring somebody into that model. And that's where you see really long success, is when you're hiring into a system as opposed to hiring a person. You're hiring a person that's going to solve your problems as opposed to hiring a person that's fitting into a system that you're already, and you do great at this. You've built a company that is different, and that's why I like working with you, is because you're building to scale, and you're thinking about, if I bring this person on, they're in this system, as opposed to, I'm just going to hire another plumber and get them a truck and say, go.
Right.
It would be great for 3 months because you'd see some revenue numbers, and then everything would break. Right. And then you'd be like, oh, this person wasn't a good hire. So,
right.
Maybe, or maybe you hired them unsuccessfully.
It's not saying, listen, I mean, you know, legitimately, we've gotten to the point, our sewer side of the business is busy. And so the problem with that is it's I don't want to say 2 or 3 times busier than what it usually is, but it's significantly busier. And with that comes a lot of paperwork. So, you know, this morning and yesterday afternoon, we created a whole new process. that there is a follow-up process. There's like a 10-point checklist that in Dan, our office manager's office, he's now going to have 12 clipboards hanging on his wall that each job has its own clipboard. And it's just to make sure that, each one of those things, permit, right? Like no parking, special order, whatever the thing is, deposit request, deposits received. But just having a checklist there for that job is something that we kind of did we didn't have as a process. And as of tomorrow, he's going to have this laid out. And so that we can see, and somebody else can see as they're walking by his office, where we are in the process of that job being scheduled and being done, because you can never stop refining your processes. I mean, you have to you can't put the cart before the horse. I mean, ultimately, if you want that cart being pulled, you got to get that horse first. And so you have to have your processes in place. And, so you helping the companies create that, or at least are willing to help them create that is something that is a big difference with you and another company. As at the beginning, we like talking with people from Delco. We like talking to people that help keep Delco moving. Joe is one of those people that help businesses grow, whether it's sales guys or project managers or technicians. But Joe is also actively involved, as he said, in SRA. And as somebody who grew up in Nether Providence and grew up playing T-ball, and a lot of my friends that I still talk to on a daily basis or a weekly basis, guys that I played T-ball with at Hepford Field, and so our kids live here, and for the foreseeable future, we're not going anywhere. And so we wanted to keep talking with people who actually make a difference in Delco. And you're one of those people. So we appreciate you coming out,
Thank you very much.
spending your time with
Very
us.
kind words, probably not necessary or true.
We'll see you on the next one. Thank you.